Looking to invest in ETFs but not sure how to pick the right one? You're not alone. Mostly new investors and even some experienced ones get confused when they see those ETF pages full of charts, tabs in terms like TER, benchmark, domicile, and tracking difference. In today's video, I'll simplify the process and walk you through everything step by step. We'll look at the key sections like overview, basics, and holdings. And by the end, you will know exactly how to select an ETF that's right for you. What is an ETF? Let's start from the top. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. Imagine like a basket filled with multiple stocks or bonds. Instead of buying one share of Apple, Google, or Tesla, you buy an ETF that holds all the top companies in a particular index like S&P 500, Nasdaq, or MSCI World. So with one ETF, you get instant diversification, lower fees, and access to global markets. And here's the beauty. You can buy and sell ETFs on stock exchanges anytime during the market hours, just like regular stocks. So for expats like us living in the GCC, ETFs are a great way to build long-term, low-cost and globally diversified portfolio. But the challenge is, which one should you buy? The first place to start is the overview tab on any ETF listing page. You'll find this on platforms like JustETF, Morningstar, or your brokerage app. Let's break down what to check here. ETF name and benchmark. This tells you what the ETF is exactly tracking. For example, if it says iShare Core S&P 500, it's tracking S&P 500 index. Performance versus benchmark. You want the ETF to closely follow the index. Check the past 1, 3, or 5-year returns. If it's too lagging behind the index, that's the warning sign. Total expense ratio or TER. This is the annual cost the fund charges. For example, if TER is 0.07%, that means for every $1,000 you invest, you're only paying $0.70 a year. Lower TER means more returns in your pocket. Fund size or AUM. Look for the ETFs with at least 100 million in assets under management. Bigger funds tend to be more stable and liquid. Basics tab. Think of this tab like a dashboard. It gives you a snapshot of how efficient and cost-effective the ETF is. Next, click on the Basics tabs. This is where you go under the hood. Here's what really matters. Replication method. There are normally two types: physical and synthetic. Physical ETFs buy the actual stocks in the index, while synthetic ETFs use swaps and contracts to replicate the performance of the index. For most investors, especially beginners, go with physical ETFs because it's safer and more transparent. Distribution type. Is the ETF accumulating or distributing? Distributing means the ETF pays you the dividends into your account. Accumulating ETFs means it reinvests the dividends received automatically, which helps you grow faster through compounding. If you are building wealth for long term, accumulating ETFs are usually better. But if you want regular income, choose the distributing ETF. Domicile. This means where the ETF is registered. For investors in the GCC, ETFs domiciled in Ireland are usually better. Why? Because Ireland has tax treaties that reduce the withholding tax on US stocks. Currency and hedging. Even if you are investing in global markets, many ETFs are listed in USD. That's good for us as GCC expats, but also check if the ETF is currency hedged. For example, if you are investing in a European index, but your ETF is USD hedged, it will protect you from Euro-USD currency swings. This section helps you align the ETF with your personal investment goals, risk appetite, and income needs. Now let's explore the holding tab, the most interesting part. This tab shows you exactly where your money is invested. Check out top 10 holdings. These are the largest companies in the ETF holding. For example, in an S&P 500 ETF, you'll see names like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. Some ETFs are heavily tilted towards tech. Make sure you're okay with that. Sector allocation. Are you overly exposed to technology, financials, or energy? A balanced ETF will have a healthy mix. Geographic allocation. Even some global ETFs are 60 to 70% US based. For example, MSCI World sounds global, but it's dominated by US stocks. So if you want true global diversification, you might combine this with emerging markets or Asia focused ETFs. Always remember, the name of the ETF might say one thing, but the holding tab tells you the real story. Comparing ETFs. Now let's say you found 2 or 3 ETFs that track the same index like MSCI World. How do you choose between them? Here's a quick checklist for you. TER or expense ratio. Go for the lowest, all else being equal. Tracking difference. This is how closely the ETF tracks the index. A smaller difference means better efficiency. Liquidity. More daily trading volume means easier to buy and sell without big price gaps. Fund age. Choose ETFs that are at least 3 years old. Newer funds may not have proven their efficiency. Fund issuer. Stick with the trusted names like iShare, Vanguard, Invesco, or Xtrackers. They offer transparency, stability, and lower risk of fund closure. You can use websites like JustETF or Morningstar to compare ETFs side by side. Same benchmark, different providers, and then choose the one that suits your cost and comfort. Bonus tips for expats. As an expat in the GCC, you also need to be mindful of access. Is the ETF available through your broker? Tax efficiency. Irish-domiciled ETFs are generally better for avoiding high withholding taxes on the dividend. Sharia compliance. If you prefer Sharia-compliant options, there are several ETFs now tracking Islamic indices. And always double check that your ETF trades on a regulated exchange like LSE or New York Stock Exchange. Alright, let's recap. Start with the overview tab. Check the benchmark, fund size, TER, and performance. Dive into the basics. Look at replication type, dividend strategy, domicile, and currency. Explore the holdings. Understand where your money is invested. Sector and regional exposure. Use filters and tools to compare the ETFs side by side and choose the one that gives you confidence. Remember, the goal is not to pick the flashiest ETF, it's to pick the one that fits your plan, your personality, and your priorities. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to Know and Grow with Mubasher Jillani, and comment below with your ETF questions. I'd love to help you simplify your investing journey. Until next time, invest smart, live free, and keep growing. Bye-bye.